You need people like me so you can point your fingers and say, that's the bad guy. What I make you? Good? You just know how to hide.
Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about how there are comic book collectors that want CGC and other graded comic book companies to die. I recently just put up a poll asking that very question. Should graded comic books, CGC comic books, just die? Do people want them to die? And the results were pretty surprising. There was over 30% of people want this to happen. A lot of these collectors want a comic book world with no graded books, no CGC slabs, no plastic coffins to encase our comic book treasures. What is a world with no CGC, with no CBCS, with no PGX, and certainly no EGS? What does a world without these plastic coffins get us? Well, I think there's several things that happen right off the bat. I think the prices of comic books in general go down even more. One of the biggest gripes with encapsulations and graded comics was there are graded comic book prices and there are raw comic book prices. So for somebody that is wanting to get in this hobby, newer in the hobby, or wants big time books at lower prices, theoretically, without graded comics, that happens. Without graded comics, we also see this disparity, this holier than thou, this hierarchy, this caste system that we've created of a comic book being dictated by the grade. We hear so many times by the comic and not the grade. The 9.8, the 9.6 discrepancy. You know, that feeling you get with that modern book or that key that is a 9.6 but doesn't hit that 9.8. What this establishes is you still have a near mint plus technically copy of a book, but because you don't have that 9.8, there is a inferiority, a FOMO, a fear of missing out situation where you feel like your book is not as good. If we get rid of graded comics, a lot of the vitriol, a lot of the hate between comic book collectors, it seems like there is this giant gap between guys that have been in this hobby for a long time and newer people, and this disparity, this discrepancy of what these graded books are actually worth and whether they should be even graded at all. You really kind of clean things up as far as a relationship standpoint between each other, as far as creating this hierarchy, creating this, well, we should do this and we shouldn't do that. Going into some of these comic book shops, these guys that have ran these shops for years and years and years, you know, bringing in slabs to trade or sell, you know, the looks I've gotten, the cold shoulder that I received just for the fact that I had graded comics, regardless of whether they were Bronze Age, Silver Age, Golden Age, or modern books, there is a feeling, you know, almost like a bigotry of like that you are something else and I'm like a real collector, an old school collector. Without CGC, collectors have more money to spend on buying comic books. So instead of sending our money down to Sarasota, Florida, these $30, $50 per book grading fees, that starts adding up, and you could start putting that money into a big key issue, a big book that you've always wanted. The money that we are putting in as collectors into this, that we've invested, that we've trusted, we could turn that money and put that money back into the hobby, theoretically causing another resurgence in the hobby, people wanting to buy again. That is a possibility, taking that money away from the grading companies and putting it into the actual hobby. Using that money, putting it into the comic book shops, putting into comic cons, putting into local shows, putting it back into the dealers so that they can keep this train rolling, buying new collections, buying new stock. And this ecosystem, this economy that we've created maybe starts flourishing if we take the money away from the grading companies. And one of the biggest aspects to all of this is the actual appreciation of the books, the actual being able to look at the thing, touch it, actually smell the comic, So much of that is lost as soon as this book is put into an encapsulation. You're never able to look at it again. You're never able to appreciate it as to what it actually is, which is a form of entertainment, a book, meaning to be open, read, turn the pages. That is over as soon as you slab it up. In a world without graded comics, that never becomes a problem again. Theoretically, you get a lot of people out that aren't interested in reading the books, or just appreciate just the covers, or are just in it for the flip, for the monetization of what the slab means. This could theoretically get hardcore collectors, hardcore people that really care about the books back into the hobby, get new people. The new people that come in become hardcore, that want to read the books. That could all happen. A reinvigoration, a reappreciation for the actual book, not just the cover and what the book means. Now let's talk about a world with slabs. All of a sudden we have some protection when we're buying things. Now that obviously has come into question with the recent evidence, the recent allegations that have come out about tampering with CGC slabs. And I will be the first to say this does look pretty fishy. If we don't trust CGC and we don't trust these grading companies to be doing their due diligence, we don't trust the case to actually be this protective safe that we think it is, all of a sudden your collection becomes compromised. It could be not what you paid for. It could be not what you have. When you have these CGC cases, when you have these graded books, it comes with this certain feeling of security that you've bought something and you've paid for you bought something and you got what you paid for. If we go back to the raw life, the ungraded life, we are trusting the grading of just the common person, the person that is not a third party, a person that obviously has invested interest to grade too high or grade incorrectly, especially buying things online. When we're buying something huge, something super expensive, you are putting that trust in the pictures and the person's description. Do we really want to go back to that where there's already such a lack of trust in this community anyway, and we're going to put the trust back into the people, into the sellers that are online, that are obviously the scammers in all these situations? I am not willing to accept that. I feel like that's a regression. That's going back in time. As far as the new people getting into this hobby, there's actually hard and fast sales data. There's actually hard and fast numbers of these books being graded. We have counts. We have how many of these have been through CGC census. Obviously, those numbers can be a little skewed with regrading and stuff, but we actually have kind of an idea of real rarity, real scarcity. If we get rid of all the slabs, we get rid of all that, we go back to the idea of the print count, this idea that we have an idea of how many of these books were printed. Some books we have a very close, realistic number to what those are, but others we have no idea. And I would lean on the side of we don't know how many books are out there of anything. So with CGC, we actually have a way to keep track of how many of these things have been graded, especially when they're ones that are in super high grade and in great condition. The idea of having comfort in a sale, not only for the seller, but for the person that is buying. I mean, there's a lot you can say about that. When I have put down $1,500, $2,000, $4,000 for something, it's a little bit of comfort knowing that what I'm getting is what I'm getting. Now, obviously, all of that is coming into question with the recent allegations. This is very likely isolated incidents. These are situations that have slipped through the cracks. And to say that it has tainted the entire grading world is just foolish, and it's not accurate. The people that are saying that, the people that are saying that it's tainted now, that the whole grading world is tainted, are the people that want to watch it burn. They want to watch it go back to where it's all just raws. And maybe that's what we should do. Maybe that is how it should be. But I just want you all to realize, if we go back to that, we are putting the trust back into these sellers for accurate grading, accurate contents of the book, saying that it's not been restored, saying that it's not been trimmed, saying it's all of these things, whether it has a Mark Jewelers insert or not. All of these things you're putting the trust in. Now, obviously, you can look at these things if you're at a Comic Con. You can look at these things if you're buying it at a shop. But for the online sales, when you're pulling the trigger on that $5,000 book or whatever it is, personally, I like to have a little bit of that comfort of having something graded with that CGC label. That's just me. Guys, what do you guys think? We kind of weigh both the pros and cons of this. Let me know what you guys think. If any point in time you like this video, give the thumbs up. And if you like this video, subscribe for more. Take care.